Hello, kindergarten through second grade. We are now working on Faith Ringold inspired story quilts. First thing to do is to draw a large square in the center of the page and then draw 8 more lines to create 9 boxes in total. So here's my paper, and I will begin, like I said, with drawing a large square in the middle. The bigger the better, because you're going to show kind of the main event, the thing you're most happy about in your story, um, or the most dramatic part of your story in that square. So you want it to be nice and big. That is the emphasis of your story, the climax of your story. So it's a nice big square. And then I'm going to draw 8 lines. So 2 lines coming out of each side of my box. Make them almost as wide as your square. 1, 2 on the top. 1, 2 on the left, and 1, 2. So in total, that makes 8 lines that I drew extra outside of my square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. And it gives me 9 spaces. And it's okay if your squares aren't perfect angles, or if their lines are a little crooked. It doesn't matter. It makes it more unique and more like a real quilt. Okay, so make sure you're doing that in pencil, of course. And again, don't worry if your square is not perfect. All right. And then you're going to think of a story you would like to tell. Maybe it's about a trip or something that happened with your family. Or maybe your story is about you and your friends, maybe a great adventure you went on. Or perhaps the story is just about you and something maybe epic that you did. In the center square, draw a picture to illustrate your favorite moment in your story. So it's going to be that big moment, the biggest moment, when something happened that was amazing. So my story is about a hike I went on this week, and I'll speed the video up in a moment, but mine is about a hike I took in Pennypack Park, which I didn't think was going to be all that great, but it turned out to be really wonderful. It was a really beautiful park, and one part of it were these really tall rocky cliffs, and I just was amazed. There were both cliffs on both sides of us, so that's what I'm drawing here. And now I'm going to speed it up, but I'll talk through it still. And there were trees at the end when it opened up, and it's just kind of like a dirt rocky path, and there was a little cave-like alcove and trees and grass and shrubbery and stuff all around. The sun was barely out. It was really hazy, and there were these beautiful vines hanging down. So that is my big moment, was when we kind of walked into this big rocky opening, and it was me and a friend and her dog. There's actually another friend, but I couldn't draw 3 people. So then you're going to fill the other squares with other parts of your story, other parts of your illustration. So this is all sped up for you here. And the bottom picture there was some tiny little mushrooms. This picture's was a really, really big tree that must have fallen, and they cut it into pieces. And then there were these old wooden fences with green hills and a barn on them. And then there was a log across a river that I walked across, and lots of trees and rocks in the river. So it might be hard to tell what some of these pictures are, but when I color them, it'll be more obvious. Now I'm going to draw a fern, because there were ferns everywhere, and I love ferns. I love how they spiral at the top. And now I'm thinking, what else am I going to draw? I have to remember my stories, what happened while I was out there. I put a little chipmunk on top of that log. Now I'm going to draw hills with some paths in it and a tree. So those are the paths we walked on. Now I'm going to draw a bridge with a river running under it. Quite a few bridges. I don't remember exactly what they look like, so I just kind of made one up from memory, and that's okay. But there were like tree roots growing into the river, and I thought that was cool. Now this one is a really funny tree shape. There were these trees that almost look like the number 8 over and over. And then there were trees with these long vines, probably like poison ivy or something growing around it. But I didn't touch it, so it's okay. But it hugged the tree and wrapped around it, so I'm going to try to draw that. And again, when I add color, I think it'll be a little bit more obvious. So these are all memories from my hiking trip, and I can look at this and remember that trip as if these were photographs taken from that hike. So my favorite picture of me and my friend in the middle and her dog and the beautiful cliffs and all these other little memories that I recalled while drawing this. Okay, so that's it. You're going to use this same drawing next week, so make sure you have it and something to color with.